Hello, BI109 John Acts class. This is week number 5 that we are in this wonderful class where we just study in the book of John and Acts. Of course, we are still in the book of John. A few things. You have your syllabus. Please make sure you get your assignments in on time. Very important. Beulah Heights University has that late work, makeup work policy that we're going to adhere to. And that policy is written in your syllabus. Read your syllabus. Week after week we have assignments done that's due and that we have to do. Last week we did a theological paper on the book of John, 2-page paper plus a title page and a bibliography, at least 2 pages. Your theological reflections, of course, you saw the instructions for that. This week, we're studying basically 2 chapters in the book of John, chapter 18 and chapter 19. Chapter 18 and chapter 19 of the book of John, focusing on the sacrifice of Christ. We also are going to read pages 101 to 103 in your Wright, Volume 2, John for Everyone, N.T. Wright, Volume 2 book. Pages 101 to 138, 38 pages. Make sure you read that. It's one of our weeks where we have a lower amount of reading than other weeks. I'm going to go over chapters 18 and chapters 19, summarize them for you for the next couple minutes. Chapter 18 of St. John talks about verses 1 through 11, talks about the sufferings of Jesus in the garden. Verses 12 through 14, Jesus is led before Annas and Caiaphas, the high priest, Caiaphas. The high priest, remember that. Test, right? John chapter 18, verses 15 through 18, Peter's first denial. Chapter 18, verses 19 through 24, the trial of Jesus. Chapter 18, verses 25 through 27, Peter's second and third denial of Jesus. Remember, Jesus prophesied that Peter would deny Jesus 3 times, and he did. John chapter 18, verses 28 through 37, Jesus is before Pilate. And John chapter 18, verses 38 through 40, Jesus is condemned. Barabbas is released. We are that Barabbas. Thank God. We're released, but Jesus was condemned. Thank God for Jesus. And we're not worthy of it, but thank God that we were released from the penalty that we had coming to us. Chapter 19, verses 1 through 3, Jesus is crowned with a crown of thorns. They said, "Hail, King of the Jews," and they smote him with their hands. They mocked him, put a purple robe on him. Chapter 19, verses 4 through 7, Pilate brings Jesus before the multitude. The multitude yelling, "Crucify him, crucify him." Chapter 19, verses 8 through 11, Jesus again was taken before Pilate. In verse 12, Pilate seeks to release Jesus, free him. And in chapter 19, verse 13 and 14, Pilate again brings Jesus before the Jews. And then in chapter 19, verse 15, brings the final rejection of Jesus by the Jews when they're yelling, "Crucify him, crucify him. We have no king but Caesar." Chapter 19, verse 16 through 24, it's the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. They're casting lots for his garment. They're putting a title on the cross, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews, in Hebrew and Greek and Latin. In chapter 19, verses 25 through 27, Mary, the wife of Cleophas, Mary Magdalene, and Jesus' mother was there. And of course he tells that beloved, John the beloved, "Woman, behold thy son," and to John the beloved, and then and he tells John the beloved, "Behold thy mother." And then of course John the beloved takes care of Jesus' mother. St. John chapter 19, verses 28 through 37 is the death of Jesus. He says, "I thirst." He says that it is finished. And then chapter 19, verse 38 through 42 is the burial of Jesus. He was buried. And that is where we end our this week's lesson readings. Remember, this week we have a discussion board. Remember, your first initial discussion board post should be 250 words. 250 words. That is due Thursday night at 11:59 p.m. We will reflect on this week's readings. John chapter 18 and 19 give a vivid picture of the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross. And how did these two chapters, chapters 18 and 19, influence you, and what did you learn? 250 words. Then you will reply to two classmates by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Two classmates, 125 words. Please make sure you do your homework on time. Enjoy this week's reading. May it impact you tremendously. This is about crucifixion, Jesus on trial, the death of Christ. Yes, the sacrifice. God bless. We'll talk to you next week. This is week 5.